Dr. Bowden, it's amazing. You and I have known each other now for a few years, and I'm so incredibly happy for you that you've been on Rogan, you've been on Tucker. I saw you with Rick Rubin. I mean, you're hanging out with Rick Rubin. Like, that's amazing. You've been on the Mount Rushmore of media. Who's left?
Yeah, it's well, maybe the view. That would be fun.
I was just thinking that actually. Would you go on there?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
I mean, when you step back and look at all these appearances and like these shows, and they've got millions and millions of views, like, what do you think?
It's very weird. Because, prior to the pandemic, I wasn't even working. I was basically a soccer mom. I have four kids, and I had taken time off from work and wasn't even sure I was going to go back to work. And I started a new practice 6 months before the pandemic hit. So it is very bizarre.
Well, and now, well, let me back up a second because we talked last year, or we talked in May actually, and what were your expectations for this administration, MAHA? What were they then last year, a year ago, November, and what are they now?
Well, we were expecting a reckoning. I mean, Kennedy was the nuclear bomb that we were going to detonate on big pharma. And then all of a sudden, the target shifted to big food, and MAHA came out of nowhere thanks to Callie Means, who came out of nowhere. And we lost that momentum. And now it appears that the current administration is just going to sweep the greatest public health crisis of our generation under the rug. It's very disappointing.
See, you were more hopeful than I was. I didn't expect anything to change, and the reason for that is, well, I didn't think big pharma would ever go away. Not saying you thought that, but too many people are on Ozempic. Too many people are on antidepressants, Adderall. These kids, I mean, and it seems like younger and younger and younger are getting on this stuff. And I couldn't even imagine if it was taken away for a month, what would happen to this country? Like, it'd tear itself apart, I would think.
Well, yeah. But I mean, my focus, as you know, has been this mRNA shot, which I've never seen anything like it with any other product on the market. Any other product would have been pulled a long time ago. I mean, I had practiced through Vioxx and a few antibiotics that were the big, greatest, latest antibiotics, and then all of a sudden were pulled off the market because of the dangers. And then look at the swine flu vaccine, 1976. It was pushed out very hard. It was very similar to the mRNA shots. Massive propaganda around the swine flu shot. And actually, 25% of the population got it within the first few months. And after only about, I've seen various reports, but just on average, about 30 people died and they pulled it. And it took them 2.5 months to pull it. Now, look at the COVID shots. And in the first 3 months, and this is from Pfizer's own data where they're monitoring in the first few months, and this is just Pfizer. So we don't know what the numbers are for Moderna and J&J, but under Pfizer's own data, 1,233 people died or were reported to have died. So that number might be an underestimation in the first 3 months. And that's when, at that point, about 30% of the population had gotten the shots. So very similar to swine flu in terms of the outcome, in terms of adverse reactions in that first 3 months, in terms of percentage of the population that got it. And yet, instead of pulling it off the market, it became mandated for 100 million Americans. It's insane.
And to this day, it still has not been pulled. The EUA was lifted.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's the PrEP Act is still in effect. The PrEP Act is still in effect until 2029, which gives blanket immunity to all countermeasures implemented during the pandemic.
So does that mean that the EUA was lifted, but it really wasn't lifted, is what you're saying, from a liability
Yeah, I mean,
standpoint?
I don't really. Yeah, it was it made no sense to continue an emergency use authorization for these shots, given that the pandemic ended a long time ago. So it was sort of a common sense measure. And now, though, I mean, everything's still protected. I know Thomas Massey has a bill trying to repeal the PrEP Act. That would be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and he's under attack right. Everybody's under attack right now. Can you believe? Like, I mean, just in the last couple of days, everything that's transpired, both personally for you, but it feels like you're always under attack, though. I mean, at this point, you're probably immune to it.
I am used to being under attack from, the people on the opposite side, and that really doesn't bother me at all. But it does bother me when people that I consider my friends attack me very publicly. That bothers me a lot.
So, do you mind sharing what people that don't know by now what has gone on with you in the last couple of days?
Yeah, well, back in August, Robert Malone went on a podcast and said that, Mary has gone off the rails. Which, I mean, to that point, up until that point, we were friends. I mean, we text each other fairly regularly. He was publicly supportive of me. But, I have been more critical of the current administration because nothing has happened. And I see people who have been injured from these shots on a daily basis in my office. It's constantly reminding me. And these patients are very difficult to treat. It's a lot of trial and error. It's slow going improvement. And, I feel like I'm in uncharted territory with not a lot of support. And these patients don't have any support. They're not getting help from the government. There is a compensation program, CICP, and they have compensated 0.29% of people that have applied, which is crazy. So I have become increasingly vocal about this, and Robert Malone is, close with Kennedy and doesn't like me speaking out and being vocal about it. No one has bothered to call me and say, hey, there is a plan. There is, no one has tried to privately offer me any reassurances that anything has happened. So all I can do is go off what I see online, and I don't see enough. And so anyway, Robert doesn't like this and basically publicly attacked me. And then more recently, I did an interview with Dr. Stephen Hatfield and Gray Delaney, who were recently fired from HHS unexpectedly and suddenly. And both of them were fired over the BARDA contracts regarding mRNA. So Stephen Hatfield was behind the cancellation of 22 contracts with BARDA over mRNA vaccines. And Gray Delaney was a communications guy. He was trying to bridge MAHA with the administration. And he sent out a tweet concerning the BARDA and Trump's reaction to it. And that prompted him to get fired. And then Hatfield, apparently there was a meeting involving, I think, BARDA and involving Meryl Nass. And during this meeting, there was some arguing. And after that meeting, he was fired. So I got a call from somebody telling me, don't interview him, which of course made me want to interview him. So I interviewed him and Gray. And then after the interview, the gist of the interview is that Stephanie Spear, who works very closely with Kennedy, Deputy Chief of Staff, that she is a problem, that she is blocking communications. She's making it difficult for people in that under Kennedy to get things done. So I sent out a tweet showing a series of concerning posts that she had made years ago about her hatred for Trump, about doing some sort of podcast or meeting with communists. And, somebody, that sparked some outrage from Kennedy supporters, including Malone, and he accused me of outrage farming and being divisive and that sort of thing. And then he proceeded, and so I rebutted that with, you should call me, and my goal is to get these shots off the market, and I don't understand why if they haven't been pulled, and that is my motive. And then he proceeded to share text messages where, after I saw the podcast where he said I'd gone off the rails, I got mad at him over text messages, and he shared those text messages. So anyway, I am, he's shown his true colors, and I'm moving on from that, but it is disappointing.
Why? Why? Well, let me back up a second. Who is, for people that don't know, who is Stephanie Spear, and why is her influence so great?
She and Kennedy go way back. She has an organization, or she had an organization called Echo Watch, was an environmental activist organization. So that's how they became connected. He supported that organization. And, she's known to be sort of his right-hand man, kind of like Susie Wiles and Trump, maybe the gatekeeper. When I did the interview, Shannon Joy joined on, and she said she had run into Stephanie Spear. She was at the speech where Kennedy made his announcement that he was running for president. And as a member of the media, was trying to set up her station, and had some negative interaction with Stephanie Spear. And then, since I posted that interview, I've talked to other people who have collaborated that, yes, Stephanie Spear is difficult. She is a gatekeeper. But, I don't know her personally. And I don't know if you saw that Kennedy did post something on X about her yesterday, saying how wonderful she is.
Yeah, it was a very positive endorsement that he provided for her.
Yes. So, I don't have any inside information. Again, it's just those tweets that she posted are, pretty damning towards Trump. And the whole interacting with communists, I think, is concerning. And yeah, people can change. So hopefully she has changed. And, Kennedy came out in defense of Wiles and Spear yesterday. So in my mind, that means the buck lands with him. I mean, my goal is trying to figure out why these shots are still on the market. And there's been all this speculation. Who's to blame for that? Is it Spear? Is it Wiles? Who is it? So, Kennedy basically said, oh, Wiles and Spear are wonderful. So I guess the buck lands with Kennedy, which is disappointing.
What do you think, though? Why this hasn't happened?
I imagine it's Trump and Operation Warp Speed and his failure to acknowledge the harms from that program. But I also think Kennedy ultimately does have the power to pull them off the market, and he just doesn't want to face the consequences of that. But people are suffering out there. So many injured out there. Now people are trying to fly to Japan to get help. Nurse Lindsay, Heather Cody, her son. I've seen others on X who are now, they're so desperate that they're having to raise money so that they go to Japan to get treatment, because no one in America has what they need, or they're just running out of options. I haven't seen anything from the NIH saying that they were going to help study the vaccine injured. And as I said earlier, the countermeasures compensation fund has been very stingy. And unfortunately, you only have a year after getting the shots to apply for benefits. So, part of the problem is so many healthcare providers out there are not even willing to entertain the possibility that patients who are coming in with new onset health problems following these shots, that it could have anything to do with these with the COVID shots. I mean, I've seen this time and time again. None of the patients who've come to see me with injuries were reported to VAERS by other healthcare providers. So I've been the one reporting them. But if it's been beyond a year, you cannot get help from the government.
And even if you can apply, it sounds like, well, there's a very small percentage that are actually getting anything. And I wonder what actually, how much money are they receiving?
It's very small. I think I think there was like one or two sizable payouts, but on average, it's a few $1,000s.
I see. I would have guessed even less than that. Unbelievable. So
Yeah,
what?
it's bad. I mean,
Go ahead. Sorry.
well, it's bad. I mean, young people whose lives have been utterly destroyed. I have people crying in my office. I'm an ENT. I'm used to fixing things pretty quickly, ear infections and things like that. I'm not used to people with these severe chronic injuries who are disabled and not able to get help. It's very frustrating.
What is in Japan that what's the solution in Japan that's not being offered in the United States?
Yeah, I sent that out to actually Molly James this morning because she does a lot more sophisticated treatments of the vaccine injured than I offer. Ozone treatments and but it's a stem cell therapy. It's plasmapheresis. I don't know the details. I actually reached out to it's Kevin McCarron who's doing this. I reached out to him this morning because I am interested in figuring this out and possibly interviewing him about that. I'm not sure, but no American should have to fly halfway around the world to get medical treatment. Where this is America.
Yeah, I had Professor Murakami on from Japan. It's probably a year ago with Masako Ganaha, and so that's why I didn't know if he was involved at all in the treatment or anything, any relation to people going over to Japan.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Even you look back, I can't believe that we're going on 6 years that this all started. And the cycle,
Yeah, well, yeah, the other day was my 4-year anniversary of my online struggle session when Methodist called me out. Um, it's it's been a grind.
is the storm getting a little bit better for you? But before you answer that,
Yeah.
I wonder how you manage this stuff, like personally. I don't think I could deal with all the stuff that you've had to deal with.
Yeah, I still have a lot of loose ends. I mean, I still have the medical board. Even Methodist. I sued them for defamation. I lost, and we came to an agreement. I paid them $161,000. I sent them a check, which they cashed, but now they want interest on that. So we're going to court over that. That's in February. And then yeah, I'm still the medical board. I could have made it go away a couple of years ago, but I just wasn't willing to fold. And so it's been at the SOA, which is the State Office of Administrative Hearings, which are administrative law judges, which are not elected. They basically work for the executive branch. And the odds of winning in that system are extremely low. I think it's something like only 8% of people actually win when they're up against the administrative courts. So I had the final hearing a couple weeks ago, and they didn't let my lawyers in the meeting. It was over Zoom or one online, and I was going away talking, wondering why are my lawyers so quiet? What is going on? and because I was in my office and they were in their office, and so we're going to do a rehearing, and it might be next week, although I have a big conflict. So we're trying to figure out when it's going to be. And then at the hearing, they issued me a public reprimand, which is really not like a huge thing, but I'm trying to clear my name, and I'm just fighting on principle. So I'm appealing that, and then that will go to the judicial system. I'll go to a state district court. And if I lose that, then I'll go to the Supreme Court of Texas. I'm also, I just filed a lawsuit against the medical board and the Federation of State Medical Boards, along with three other doctors. And basically, in July of 2021, the Federation of State Medical Boards issued a proclamation to all the medical boards in the country, stating, giving them, well, encouraging them to go after doctors who are spreading misinformation. And this led to a flurry of complaints across the country to doctors. I received 4 complaints. 3 of those were about ivermectin. One of them was from Methodist because I resigned after they attacked me. And so it's been very hard for many doctors around the country who stood up. And so we are suing them and suing various medical boards across the country. But the head of the snake is the Federation of State Medical Boards, and they are it's a private entity that somehow has jurisdiction over state medical boards. So we're fighting that. And then I'm also planning on suing the medical board for violating my due process rights. Prior to them even filing a complaint against me, they were gossiping about me. I uncovered this on open records requests. They were sending media stories about me amongst each other. And then one of the head person doing that ended up presiding over my informal settlement conference. So she was clearly already biased against me. And then it's been just legal. I lost count of how many motions and orders and pleadings there have been in this case. They tried and failed 3 times to find an expert to testify against me. The first one got sick. The second one just chickened out. The third one turned out he was working for Planned Parenthood for the entire 12 years that he served as the medical board director. So he was the medical director of the Texas Medical Board at the same time working at Planned Parenthood. And I revealed this because he had to submit his CV as part of the lawsuit. And when I revealed this, he resigned. And also, he resigned his position at the medical board and also pulled out as being an expert. They also did not bring any witnesses to testify against me. No witnesses from the hospitals. They claim that I caused a big scene at the hospital. They actually have a video of what happened. It's very calm. But they had no witnesses. So no witnesses and no experts. And yet I was found guilty.
You've mentioned several times in our conversations of how Texas, the goal is that's ground zero for all this, right? For all the mandates and the lockdowns, and they'll turn it blue through the health system.
Yeah, Houston is home to the largest medical center in the entire world, the Texas Medical Center. And the COVID shot mandates started in Houston at Houston Methodist Hospital. That was April 1st, 2021, which was 5 months before Biden. They paved the way for the rest of the country. The day they did this, the exact same day, Biden announced a $10 billion propaganda program called COVID-19 Community Corps. Money was doled out to hundreds of influencers initially, and then it became thousands, basically to communicate that these shots were safe and effective and no more. And so the timing of that, I do not think that was a coincidence. I think that Houston Methodist was chosen. I think it was quite purposeful. I think that they realized that if they could get away with mandates in the seemingly independent, freedom-loving state of Texas, they could get away with mandates anywhere. And they were correct, unfortunately.
That was my next question was going to be, do you feel like they were successful?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it became nationwide pretty quickly. And then Biden mandated them in September. And what's interesting, you look at this timeline. The FDA went after ivermectin in March of 2021. They put something on their website stating that people should not take ivermectin for COVID and doctors should not prescribe ivermectin for COVID. Right after this, Houston Methodist mandated the shots. We had the implementation of the COVID-19 Community Corps. In August 2021, government was upset because more people weren't getting these shots. So they launched another attack against ivermectin. The FDA put out that horse tweet, which is the attractive healthcare worker nuzzling the horse. And the caption says, seriously, y'all, you're not a horse, you're not a cow, stop it. That was August 23rd, 2021. Right after that, Biden mandated the shots and took away monoclonal antibodies, which were a very non-controversial and very effective treatment for COVID. But the goal was to get the shot in everybody's arms. And they took away they attacked ivermectin, denigrated ivermectin, and they took away monoclonal antibodies in order to do that.
And to this day, you still can't go to CVS or Walgreens and get it.
Well, the tactics have changed. I've seen this. First, they just outright would not dispense it. I had a pharmacist turn me into the medical board for writing the prescription, and they actually the medical board actually went forward with that. I had to pay money to defend myself against that. But now what their tactic is, they require pre-authorization. So there's a delay there. They want you, and then the insurance company denies it. And so then they charge you, an exorbitant price for the ivermectin. So that's how they do it now. So I just send all my prescriptions to independent pharmacies. You're going to pay cash, but it's much cheaper and much faster that way.
See, to me, that's what it's all about now, is just making things as inconvenient and uncomfortable as possible, to the point where it just puts you into submission. And I've had conversations, some of my conversations recently is, was the whole lockdown successful? And I believe it was, because it tested people on their ability to submit and not question anything. And that's what I find so curious about. And again, I'm always so thankful that you make time for me, because, these people that were championing, if I can say that, or get that word out, at one point we all thought, all right, there's sides here. Then all of a sudden they get in these government positions and they're like, trust us. Or media people are like, trust us. These are I know they're government, but these are our friends. Well, once you go on the other side and you're in the government, it's no different than what it was before, in my view. So that's what I just find curious about, like, what's going on right now, because it's like they're government now. Kind of went off on a tangent there, Doctor, but
no, I've never been in government. I think I would be a very poor fit in government. But yeah, if you saw the Brett Weinstein interview on Rogan, he alluded to that phenomenon where you get to Washington and then you just become swallowed by the corruption. And is that what's happening now?
Do you think the systems can be salvaged?
Well, the thing that gives me hope is that we are getting our message out. At the last ACIP meeting in September, the CDC admitted that only 10% of physicians or healthcare workers are getting these shots, which speaks volumes. And unfortunately, the CDC stopped publishing the data on how many Americans are getting these shots. They used to post it regularly, but interestingly, I went on Tucker, and I don't know if you remember this, but Tucker kind of freaked out when I told him that over 9 million American children had gotten the latest version of the shot. And he really emphasized, like, oh my gosh, really? And then right after that, the CDC stopped posting that data on their website. But regardless, I think most Americans are aware and are not getting these shots. And I think it's also spreading massive vaccine hesitancy in general. So, despite there's this illusion that the government is winning, but I don't think they are. I think, and that's what's important. It's just making sure people don't get these shots. I really wish the government, I wish HHS would fade a little bit. They are in the media, they are on social, they're on X all the time. Prior to COVID, I didn't give the FDA or the CDC a single thought. The FDA approves drugs, the CDC tracks diseases. Go do your thing, guys. Go do your thing. Stay out of the doctor patient relationship. Stop talking. This whole HRT thing makes me mad a little because it's the same thing. They're sort of butting in too much on healthcare. Pull the shots, regulate drugs the way you should, but you don't need to weigh in on how doctors need to treat their patients and what patients should take for their conditions. That's going too far.
Well, then the whole, and that was all, that was another one of my concerns with this administration. And even, Elon was talking about, I think it was Elon last year, basically saying, well, we got this wrong, but the next rounds of shots will correct them. And then you see Larry Ellison from Oracle sitting in the White House right at the beginning of this year, right with the new administration had come in, talking about this, and you're just like, oh my God, like this is actually, these people are believing it, and they're going to try to implement it.
Yeah, but I just wonder if the American public, if there's a market. I mean, I don't think there's a market. I mean, maybe they'll drum up another scary pandemic so that there is a market. But even so, I think so many people learned their lesson. It almost be helpful for them to try something on us in the near future before everybody really forgets. It's still fresh enough, though, that I think if there were a pandemic in the near future, people would act far differently.
Speaking of wearables, Casey Means, I don't even hear from her anymore. She didn't have her hearing to be Surgeon General, unless it happened and I missed it.
Well, she just gave birth. So she
Oh,
was
she did
supposed to
give.
have a hearing. Yeah. She was supposed to have a hearing, but then they postponed it because she just gave birth.
So there's no Surgeon General right now, or is there an acting Surgeon General?
Not to my knowledge, which begs the question, do we really need a Surgeon General?
Knowing she was expecting, why did they even, was this done, do you think, intentionally to just get everybody fired up? Why even throw her name in there then?
I don't know. I mean, as you probably know, I'm not a big fan of her nomination. I mean, she did not finish her residency. And that is a big deal. It's sort of, there are over 1 million physicians in the US who did complete their residency. There are a lot of doctors who are qualified to take that position. It's a huge honor to get that position, obviously. And should the honor go to somebody that was not able to complete their residency? And she'll say, oh, it's because I was so disgruntled with the system. Well, yeah, residency is super hard. It is the hardest thing I've ever done. I used to joke that it was like a prison sentence because you get no sleep, you have zero control over your life. You feel like an indentured servant. You get paid very little. You have no control over when you can eat or sleep or have time off. It's very hard. And you had her program directors come out and say that she had a tough time with that aspect of it. It wasn't that she was just disgusted with the system. It was that she could not handle it, which is understandable. It's very hard to handle. I could barely get through it. I thought about quitting many times. And so that's what's bothersome to me. She didn't make it. And it's a huge honor. And there are plenty of great options out there. People, and there are people like Kelly Victory, who is very well spoken, very comfortable in the media, who was very outspoken from the start about the pandemic. She got it right from the she was earlier. She was earlier than I was. And she was on the list to get chosen. She and I were actually at a meeting together when this was all going down. So I talked to her firsthand. It wasn't just, hearsay. And I know that she was at the top of the list. And then it was just a big blow when Casey Means got chosen instead.
I can't tell you how many people I've come across that are like, oh, I've so her book. I read her book. I read her book, and I'm like, she didn't even finish her residency. They're like, really? Well, that wasn't in the book. Well, yeah, I'm sure. Why would you put that in your book? like, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's the book. We've had. It's not the first. What she said in that book was not like groundbreaking. If you look at there are hundreds, if not thousands, of books out there like it. It's very odd how all of a sudden she and Callie Means just parachuted into the movement. No one had heard of them, and all of a sudden they have a best-selling book. They're on Tucker. They're on Rogan. It sounds to me like they just are extremely well connected, and that's how they were able to catapult into the spotlight so quickly.
Well, and he's a pharma lobbyist, right? Isn't that what he did in DC?
Yeah, and he has connections to Susie Wiles as well. He also has some suspicious, his counsel of foreign relations. There's speculation that he's, CIA. I don't know, but yeah, I have had several interactions with him on the phone and even in person. I did an interview with him and Jack
It's a
Cruz.
great conversation, by the way.
It was very cathartic. It's the first time I've actually had to, it's like a debate. But he just will not go on record stating the COVID shot should be pulled off the market. He will not say it. And I'm sure he's not getting, he admitted he's not getting shots. He's not going to give them to his kid. He wouldn't want his dad to get one. So they're not safe enough for him. And this is my big thing. It's the hypocrisy. It's not safe enough for him. It's not safe enough for his family. Then why are they safe enough for everyone else? And if you have a gigantic microphone, I feel like you're ethically obligated to speak out.
I love how Jack Cruz on that Danny Jones, and people haven't watched it yet. Go find Danny Jones podcast with Jack Cruz, Dr. Mary Bowden, Dr. Jack Cruz, and then Callie Means. Because he just point blank says to Callie, he goes, "I think you're full of shit." right there to his face.
Oh yeah, it was like good cop, bad cop on that. I was trying to be less inflammatory. But you talked to me about YouTube. When that was posted, Danny Jones left my name and my photo off the thumbnail because he was worried it would get banned. And then they bleeped out vaccine during that interview because he was worried it would get banned.
I referenced that in some of my talks because I remember as a kid where you'd watch like an R-rated movie would make it to regular TV, which is really aging myself here, and they would either do some lousy dubbing, some voiceover where it was awful, or they would just mute it. And I said, man, in the world we live in today, you can say every profanity, every derogatory, no limits, but you can't say those words. That had to get muted.
That is an excellent. Yeah, I had completely forgotten about that. That's an excellent point.
Yeah, like the nudity, they would like blur it out, or they would do, maybe they did a second, like filmed it twice with a shirt on or something, like on regular TV. But I was like, look at the times that we're in now. These words are okay for YouTube, but these words aren't, and they're not profanity.
Right.
And now I saw him. Callie just did an interview. I don't know if it's Fox or something, talking about the CIA. The CIA is handing out handbooks of what not to do or not to say or something. Did you see that? Manuals and that's why nothing's happening.
Yeah. And did you hear Kennedy using the term chaos agents on his tweet
No, fill
with
me
the
in with that.
implication? I mean, when I hear chaos agent, I think CIA. I feel like, yeah, this is purposeful. They're accusing their dissenters of being in the CIA.
Don't question authority. Like that hasn't changed here. What was the TrueMed connection again? Wasn't that his company or something?
Right. So what they do is they write letters of medical necessity for patients who want their wellness products covered under HSA. So HSA, you're allowed to use pre-tax dollars to purchase health products. And normally that goes to things like doctor's visits, physical therapy, you need a wheelchair, things like that. But what Callie's company does is they get things like, $4,000 tech beds. 8 Sleep is on there. 8 Sleep is this like fancy bed that monitors you while you sleep and cools you down, and in saunas and cold plunge. What they do is they write letters of medical necessity so that you get a tax break on these products, which we are all paying for those, right? A tax break for our neighbor is a tax hike for the people not getting the tax break. And I take issue with this because, there are products on there that, yes, I'm sure they make you feel good, but are they proven to really help you, live a longer life and stay out of the doctor's office? I don't know, maybe, but it seems a little muddy. And I don't know that the average American needs to sleep on a $4,000 bed, uh, especially one that is tracking you with, their data. You're hooked up to some electrodes. I mean, there's also, these wearables. Yeah, I think those glucose monitors are great. But what they're not telling you is that there's data and they're collecting data. And that data is highly valuable. That data is a commodity and it's being sold to companies without people realizing it. And if that's happening, patients need to know, and patients need to get paid. If they want, fine. If you want your data shared, then you ought to be paid for that. And you ought to at least be aware of it. But if the company is profiting off of your data, you should get some of that money, or you should get most of that money. It's wrong.
Yeah, I saw it was a storefront in Scottsdale, like a wellness, and I want to say it had listed as TrueMed. I don't know if it was a TrueMed affiliate or they take TrueMed or something, but I saw the name TrueMed on there. I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Well, it's questionable, who's writing. They have doctors writing these letters of medical necessity, and they're not seeing the patient. It sounds a little bit shady.
Reminds me of medical marijuana when that first rolled out, right? Like they write those prescriptions for anybody. Like in California, it was nothing to go get one of those.
Yeah, and yet, yeah, are the medical boards coming after those doctors?
Everything's a grift, Dr. Bowden. We're just living in one big grift.
Yeah, and this, I don't know if you looked at what was going on in the MAHA, this big MAHA summit meeting recently, I guess last Wednesday. And Neuralink was there, Walmart, Google, Palantir. It was like MAHA is turned into big tech.
But are you surprised by that?
Disappointed, but yeah, it's the money, right? The money. Unfortunately, it's not about health.
Yeah, I've been talking about Palantir a lot lately, especially I don't know if you saw with Michael Burry shorting it. That's been coming out over the last week and a half, 2 weeks now. Michael Burry from The Big
Oh.
Short, he
Mm-mm.
shorted the stock of Palantir and Nvidia,
Oh,
excuse me.
really?
Yeah, so it's Palantir has been, and Alex Karp has been on a media frenzy. Just they're coming after us. We're a good company, yada yada yada, and look, like he looks like the mad scientist running around. But I didn't realize that Palantir was part of that MAHA summit either.
Well, I could be wrong, but that was my impression.
Mm. Now, shifting back to Texas for a second, because you have a big governor race coming up. Are you endorsing anybody for that? Are you public about that?
Oh, yeah, I just had a fundraiser for Doc Pete Chambers. He's Green Beret, Purple Heart, family practice doctor. He was working on the border during the pandemic, Operation Lone Star. He was in charge, in the medical sense, in charge. And they wanted him to give the COVID shots. So when he gave the shots, he gave informed consent. He warned the troops, and the large majority of the troops chose not to get the shots, and so he was fired. And now he's running for governor. So he has my full support. He's very well spoken. He's very articulate. He's very energetic, and he's very approachable. And he interacts with people very well and listens. And I'm excited. It's going to be hard because Abbott has so much money. Uh, but I have seen a groundswelling of support, and I feel like he's gaining momentum. And if you can't donate to him, at least follow him on X and share his posts and give him that he needs advertising. He just needs name recognition. So even if you can't donate, just following him and sharing his posts is helpful.
Yeah, I've had him on here before. I met him through Michael Yan a few years ago. Michael Yan's big, was all over the world, but border Panama, and yeah, Doc Chambers. He's just a hell of a guy. And do you know Gary Haven then too?
I don't think so.
Gary Haven was the founder of Curves.
Oh,
Yeah, so he lives in Texas, and I believe he's publicly endorsing Doc as well, I believe.
okay.
So I should connect you two actually. I have Gary on here
Yeah.
quite a bit with Paul Craig Roberts. But he was the one. He was in Helene flying his private plane. He was flying the J6ers out when they were released. He was also part of
Mm-hmm.
the flooding in Texas, utilizing his plane for
Mm-hmm.
that as well. So that'd be a good connection for you, for I think both of you guys. Um, Dr. Bowden, where do we go from here? What do we do as individuals? Because we can't. Some of this we can't solve on the macro on the federal level. At least I can't. You probably can. You have
I
more of an
know.
impact than I do.
Well, yeah, it's an information war, and like I said earlier, I do think we're winning because the vast majority of people are not getting these shots. People are waking up about the vaccine program in general. So we just need to keep speaking out. And I have this effort going, it started 2 years ago, and I started an organization called Americans for Health Freedom. And our foundational project is to recruit politicians to simply state that the COVID shot should be pulled off the market. And it's just grown little by little. I recently had, I don't know, 7 politicians from South Dakota sign the pledge. Uh, so that's one thing, just being involved on a local level with your representatives and pushing them and questioning them. You can do it online. You can just do it on X. You can write them. You can email. It's thanks to technology, it's a lot easier to apply that pressure. So applying pressure on your representatives is key.
And also, you have a show. now too. You didn't have that last time we spoke.
Yeah, that I so Shannon Joy recruited me to do a show every Wednesday, 12:30 to 1:30 Central Time, where I interview people, and also have a book coming out in May called Dangerous Misinformation: the Virus's Treatment and the Lies.
What's the name of the show too?
On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden.
Who's on your list of people that you want to talk to?
Well, next week I have Ivan Raiklin coming on, talking about his legal battle, uh, and I'm going to have some. I'm going to have the vaccine injured on after that. I want to talk to Heather Cody and her son. I mean, yeah, Heather Hudson and her son Cody, and Nurse Lindsay, because they are trying to raise money to fly to Japan to get help. So I'm going to talk to them soon.
And where can people find the show?
It airs live on X, and then I post it on my Substack and on YouTube and Rumble as well.
So you're free on you're free on YouTube again.
Yeah, I get like 12 views though. It's really pathetic. I don't have much of an audience on YouTube, but I keep trying.
I have to bring this up too because you made me. I can't even say this without laughing. I get a lot of negative because people are like, "You're laughing too much on your show." I can't help it. I do laugh. I try to laugh genuinely, but I have to tell you, one of your comments was so goddamn hilarious when Jack Dorsey said when you put up you shared a memory about Bitcoin. And you said, if I can't, I'm paraphrasing. Wait, go ahead. What did you say about Bitcoin with gasoline in your car?
Oh, right. I said, I like the idea of an independent currency, but until I can use it to put gas in my car or food on my table, I'm out.
And Jack Dorsey quote tweets you and says, it's time. And you respond back.
Yeah, that was from out of nowhere. I don't know.
But
yeah.
What was your response?
Yeah.
Your response was the best.
I said, aren't you the one that kicked me off this platform to 2021? Which I don't know. It might not have been him. It might have been the person after him and before Elon in retrospect. But I know he kicked off a lot of my friends. So I left it up there.
And then somebody responded. Somebody, I don't know if it was a bot or whatever, of like, why would you bring that up? And didn't you come back with, I would like an apology.
I would.
I know, it was just so great though reading that, because he just comes back and says it's time. I'm sorry for people getting aggravated. I'm laughing because it was one of the funniest tweets I've probably read in the last 3 years. And you go, wait a minute, aren't you the one that suspended me? How many accounts did you have to create during that time?
Well, I'm not that sophisticated. I ran out of email addresses. I even asked my kids if I could use their email addresses and they were like, "No, Mom, I'm not getting involved in all this." But I was like a crack addict trying to get an email address that would work, and trying to get my kids to help me, and they wouldn't. I don't know. It was crazy.
Well, Kat,
I was learning about VPNs and all this, and yeah.
And Kat, she go through like 10 accounts or something.
Well, Lynn, I think Lynn holds the record.
She became like the Dark Phoenix. She became like the Dark Phoenix by the end. It was forever changing, and probably was a crapshoot every time you create a new profile. Did you like an over under? How long before this thing gets blown up?
Yeah, it was a dark time. I was muted for 5 months, and it's very discouraging, but at least that seems to be over.
Well, and it's kind of coming back full circle to our conversation. Dr. Malone, he went down early. They took him out way at the beginning.
Yeah. And I stuck up for him. Yeah.
You think that relationship will get
Say that again.
Do you think that relationship will get uh, restored or something?
I don't know. It's fine. I mean, I'm just going to ignore him. It's not the end of the world, but they're bigger problems to address.
I think the amazing thing about the whole expanding, I mean, Dr. McCullough, he seemed to survive it for like the longest time. I mean, I think eventually they nuked him, but I was always amazed that he was able to. Because I figured, I'm like, they probably have like a dedicated employee to follow sectors, right? Like medical and political, and there's only a handful of accounts that have 100,000 plus followers that you could just nuke it.
Well, and we used to have to misspell ivermectin purposely because certain words would flag it, and I still see that actually. If I post Houston Methodist, or if I post Texas Medical Board, or if I post Texas Medical Association, the tweet goes flat, and there's all sorts of spam in the comments. And what they do is they pick up on these trigger words, and then they mass report you. So it slows down your account, and then they put a bunch of spam in the comments, which also it kills the tweet. So I'm still working around. There's certain keywords that I can't use.
I'll share this with you really quick. I know you run out of time, but I got my visibility basically reduced on a post where I had Marty Bent on we were talking about the Trump meme coin. And I couldn't share it. I couldn't repost nothing. Couldn't repost it. I couldn't even send you the link through my phone.
Wow.
And I didn't even know that until Marty texted me. He goes, something said, and I went and listened. I'm like, I'm talking about the Trump meme coin. And there's no way to fight any of that.
All right.
Where can people find you, doctor?
I mean, what?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm primarily on X at MD Breathe, but I also have Substack and YouTube, barely YouTube, and Rumble. And then my office website is breathemd.org.
As always, I appreciate you making time for me. And, I give you a lot of credit. You take a lot of heat all the time. And, and you don't give up. Yeah, man, I mean, your kids must. What do they think of all this?
It helped going on Tucker and Rogan tremendously because they had all their friends talking about it, which really, for many years I was a huge embarrassment. They were always supportive, but I was scared to show up at school events, and just because the local media was not kind to me. I was on in the Houston Chronicle. They put me as one of the most controversial figures of, I think it was 2022 or something. Things like that. I was blasted pretty hard, especially locally. And but going on Tucker and Rogan shifted that, and now people are come up to me and are complimentary, and their friends think it's really cool that their mom was on Joe Rogan, so that was helpful.
I was gonna say, do you get recognized a lot when you're out and about?
Thankfully, no. No, not at all, which is nice.
Doctor, thank you so much for doing this. I look forward to our next conversation.